Many Filipinos have undergone living under names that are not theirs according to their birth certificates. Most have learned to live with this, while some have opted to legally change or correct it.
So yung una muna siguro na tingnan, paano nga ba nagkakaroon ng mga erroneous entries? So nag-start yan sa time ng registration ng document. So dapat, upon registration, chine-check siya ng informant. Usually ang nangyari before, kahit ngayon, pumipirma na lang sila, hindi nila tinitingnan kung tama ba yung entries na nakalagay doon. So doon nag-occur yung mga discrepancies.
So I am Karen K. Diomampo Avelino. I'm 34 years old. Since birth, I've been using Karen K, K with an E. Everything from my scholastic records, and then lahat ng mga documents and identification, lahat yon may E. It was just in year 2000, during the time when I applied for board exam, that I found out na yung K pala sa NSO birth certificate ko was walang E. Before kasi, di ba, we were not required to use the NSO birth certificate. So I was just using yung in-issue ng civil registry. That was just yung brown paper. So dun sa papel na yon, may E naman yung name ko. Hassle siya talaga. Kasi I was supposed to take the board October. Tapos, since nga parang hindi ko matanggap na walang E pala yung pangalan ko, sa lahat na ng mga identification ko, pati lahat ng mga tao, kilala ako na may E. Parang I wanted to dispute it at first, pero it would take a lot of time, effort, money. I was left with no choice but to adopt the KAY na lang. Kesa ipapapalitan ko pa, kumbaga, kaysa dadaan ako dun sa napakahabang process.
What are the valid reasons a person can change his or her name? What are the requirements a person needs in order to change his or her name? What is the process one has to go through to change his name? Good evening, you are watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel. This show is about making the law work for you by giving legal advice on topics that matter to you. I'm attorney Karen Jimeno.
And I'm attorney Rod Nepomuceno. Tonight, we will discuss your legal rights on the issue of change of names and other data. What you need to know and do to legally change or correct the data on your birth certificate and other official records.
Our guest for tonight is Attorney Henry Araneta, a law practitioner at the Donato, Zarate, and Rodriguez law firm. Good evening, Attorney Araneta.
Good evening.
Good evening. We got your name correctly, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Attorney Henry Araneta. Okay, just wanted to make sure because our topic for tonight, very interesting, change of name.
Yes.
Yes.
And minsan naman the topic is not so much to change of name, but minsan it's a
May
typographical
clerical
error,
error,
just like in the
yes,
case,
oo.
di ba? Hindi naman talagang real
May
change
iba
of
nga,
name.
di ba? May iba na instances na narinig ko na yung mga dapat male, female yung nakalagay
Yeah,
sa...
oh, yeah.
Lalo kasi
Quite
pag may
common.
names na I think can be mistaken for either a girl or a boy, di
Yeah,
ba?
yeah. Now,
And
I used to think when I was taking up law, I
Used to
didn't-
think
I-
you were a girl, no?
No, no. I just thought I was kind of bored with this provision, to be honest. Because I said, it's just typographical lang yan. But apparently, maraming repercussions to, di ba?
Yes.
A typographical error,
Yeah.
a clerical error has a lot of repercussions.
Yes.
What are the repercussions, for example?
I think we can see from our case study. Buti nga,
As regards
si-
the
yeah.
studies, the one that was presented,
Yeah, si
it
Karen,
happens
kapangalan
if it's
ko
already
pa, no?
late in life. When
Late in
they're
life.
just about to go abroad, take certain exams.
Yeah.
They're
Get a passport.
hassled.
Oh, the
Yeah,
hassle of
the
parang
hassle of it
mali
all.
pala yung
Yes,
name nila,
oo.
di ba?
Buti nga for Karen K, yung second name niya lang yung may error. And it's not that different masyado na
Yeah.
kulang lang ng E. But,
but
there
still,
are
no?
some people na yung first name talaga completely misspelled or ibang-iba from their birth certificate.
Yeah.
Actually, my cousin, I think before, yung Celine niya was Seleleng in
Yeah.
her birth certificate.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
No, my father, his name is Rainfrido. I think he's the only Rainfrido named in the whole world, no? R-E-I-N. But most, and if I'm not mistaken, his baptismal certificate, he doesn't have a birth certificate. We're trying to look for it, but I think nakalaga R-A-I-N, if I'm not mistaken. No?
So
and more
completely
often than not,
different
yeah,
spelling.
it's always spelled
Yeah.
differently. And there are, yun nga, yung what Kay was going through, no? It's a hassle. You
Yeah,
know, what's
she had to
that?
change all of her IDs. So, Attorney Henry, minention dito ni Karen K that for her, she didn't want to go through the hassle of changing her birth certificate, yung error doon, because of all the costs and the expenses and of course the time. But is it that difficult now? In her case, yung Karen K, meaning mali yung spelling yung second name niya.
It's not anymore. The law was devised exactly for situations like Karen's. It was made to make the process simpler and more likely cheaper.
So, okay, first maybe we can clarify with the viewers. Anong instances would the change of name or any other corrections in a birth certificate, when would it be faster and cheaper?
Okay. So general rule is no change in the entry in your certificate of birth
In other words, touch
can
move.
be made
Touch move, dapat.
without judicial processes.
Okay, meaning
so
the ordinary remedy is really to file a petition in court.
the court. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was prior to 9048, to the Republic Act 9048.
And this was passed when?
Around 2001.
Quite recently.
So there is now an exception. First, it was introduced in 2001 that certain changes can be made not through the judicial process anymore, but through the local civil registrar.
Civil registrar.
Okay, so in changes of names and nicknames, where first the name is ridiculous, tainted with dishonor, or very difficult to pronounce or
Or
to write.
to spell,
Spell,
right?
yeah.
Yes. So that's one. Second one is if the petitioner has been habitually and continuously using that name that is proposed to be changed, like in Karen's case.
Karen
That's
K.
it.
She's been using
Yes.
it. She's been using it all this time, di ba?
Yes. And then the third is if it will avoid confusion.
Avoid
For
confusion.
consistency purposes. So
Yes. Right.
you have Karen's case therein, it might fall under number 2 or number 3.
But previously, you said she had to go through a judicial process.
Previously,
I
yes.
think that's what Karen K was
Thinking.
referring to, na it's going to take too much time and magastos, and she had to take a board exam, right? So, but now, for the benefit of our viewers, if it's any of the instances mentioned by Attorney Henry Araneta, lalo na kung, di ba pag first name and nickname lang naman,
Yes.
then you can go to the local civil registry that keeps the records. But then, pag last name, is that allowed?
No, because
Okay.
the rule is you should not change entries, especially if it will change your nationality, age, status, and sex. So, as regards status, last name
Yes.
medyo it would be substantial and it will not be allowed.
Yes. I'd like to go back though when you said sex. Kasi yung meron din tayong bagong law which came after Republic Act 1972. Yung isa pa, yung ngayon.
Sorry,
1948. Ngayon naman, 10172.
Okay.
That allows a change in sex
Yes,
as well, right?
sex as well,
Basta obvious na clerical error.
And with certain qualifications, of course.
Now, who makes
Okay.
that judgment, though? For example, you come in there and I say, I'm a woman.
Oh, okay.
And
who makes
nakalagay
that-
dito, male sa birth certificate.
Yeah, and the civil registrar can make that call na parang it's obvious.
No, they have to submit requirements also.
Okay.
Republic Act 172 has expanded the coverage into including the clerical or typographical errors as regards names and
Birth
entry
dates.
in the birth.
Yeah.
The date of entry
So
of
in
birth
that case, pwede yung
and
correction
the
to surname.
Sex.
Yeah.
Pag if it's a typographical
Surname hindi pa rin
Hindi pa rin.
kasama.
Surname probably because there is an inclusion there that it shall not affect the status.
Oo. So, hindi kasama ang surname, right?
And it's very clear kasi it's sad that it has not included
it's not
surname.
included.
Yeah.
Pero
So special proceeding pa rin siya. Kung ano,
more
kung-
likely
yeah,
because siyempre it's a material issue.
Pero kung obvious ho na typographical error, yung pagka-misspell ng surname, can you
Yeah.
still change it through just an administrative
Yes,
process?
because it's the new law now has included clerical
Clerical
errors which are
Okay.
innocuous
Yeah,
or
kasi kung nakalagay-
readily visible.
Yes,
Kung
okay.
kunyari, kung father's name, ito yung spelling, mother's name, ito yung spelling, bilang your family name is different. So, clearly,
Pwede.
it was
That would
pwede
be.
yan. Alright.
And going back to your question as to whether male or female, yung there is a requirement that is included among the submissions that you have to
Okay.
include in your application, a certification from a government authorized physician.
I see, okay.
Indicating that you had not undergone
Undergone any sex change.
any sex change.
Okay.
Okay,
So
that's
kung yung
very
mga nag-sex change and they want to change their entry in the birth certificate as a male or female, hindi pwede yung
Probably on that
administrative proceeding.
aspect, their application will have
Wala
to be
pang-
denied.
Oo.
Wala
So
pang
kailangan
jurisprudence
sa
yan.
court.
Wala.
Pero sa court pwede
Di rin
kaya?
pinayagan
Hindi
yun.
rin
There was
talaga?
one case, he has asked for change of name ata and the sex also because he already married. He has undergone sex change and married another. It was not allowed. It is not allowed.
I see.
Okay.
Quite interesting. Okay.
Sige.
All right.
But right now, let's first answer questions from our viewers with the help of Attorney Henry.
Yes.
Our first question is from Natalia, and it reads, can I get my name legally changed just because I want to?
Oh, no. Well, of course, the obvious answer there is no.
You cannot change it.
You cannot
Kahit na
change
you've been using it nga.
Yun
to
yung
avoid
exception, right?
It's if the question is just because she wants to. If the reason for changing is false within the parameters set by law.
Yeah, it causes
the,
confusion, for example. Yeah.
Then she can.
Oo.
Okay,
Or
alright.
kunwari, it causes dishonor. Kasi,
Yes.
ako when I was in college, we had one of the students that went to my college had a surname na B-A-Y-A-G. So,
Okay.
okay. So, I think in that case, baka
Judicial.
meron
Yeah,
siyang
pwede.
case for
I think that's-
asking for a change of last name, no?
A
Because
judicial. That
it
would be a
stands
judicial.
for
Yeah.
something in the Tagalog language.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
in that case, siguro may merit to change. But,
There has to be.
Oo. And then also,
I would change it right in
Ikaw?
in a heartbeat. I would change it.
she kept it. College na kami
Put it
nun.
this way, even if the government didn't allow me, I'd change it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so definitely yan. May ano yan, no? Now, Jello of Quezon City is asking, I was born before my parents got married, so I was registered with my mother's last name. When they got married, they changed my last name to my father's. I applied for a passport this year and found out that my NSO birth certificate does not contain the annotation regarding my last name. I've been using my father's last name for the last 30 years in all of my documents, including school records and for work. What should I do to fix this?
Okay.
First, it was unfortunate that the ensuing marriage was not apparently was not registered with the civil registrar because it should have been marginally annotated that or indicated therein that there was now a submission of parents. Because that is a very material matter because it will affect his or her status. Yeah, legitimate or
Legitimate na siya,
Okay,
yeah.
so but if you look at the other aspect of the question from the viewer, he has been using that for
The past
30
several
years.
years.
Okay, so and there is also an enabling law that as the Revilla law that if you are recognized by your paternal parent father, you can use the surname. So probably his case will only will fall under the second parameter that we have
You mean
set.
parameter
habitually
for
For changing of name.
For changing it without need
Without
of
need.
going to court.
Yes, but
So
of
sa
course,
administrative lang to.
yes, of course, presuming that they will now be submitting the marriage of her parents, and then presuming that there is now a signature or acknowledgement by his or her father at the back, then she can go through that process.
Okay, no
Second,
need to file a court. Petition.
I don't think he will need, just in case, if
kung
the
pasok
decision
yun,
is
yeah.
impugned,
Yeah. What
Yeah.
kind of evidence should you show that for habitual use? A driver's license,
Yes.
a passport? Ganun?
Yes, primarily you should submit first a certified machine copy of the certificate or the page in the entry in the NSO. And then, as you have mentioned, those documents, either private or public,
Maybe
but then
even contracts that you've
yeah,
signed.
contracts
Yeah.
that contains now the desired or the consistently or habitually used name.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we still have a lot to discuss with our guests. Keep it here on the Solar News channel. Legal Help Desk will return after this short break. You are still watching Legal Help Desk on the Solar News channel, and we are still joined by our guest, Attorney Araneta of the Donato, Zarate, and Rodriguez Law Firm. So let's continue to discuss
Okay.
this.
Ano yung, sa procedure naman, for the cases that you mentioned nga, yung pwede nang i-apply sa civil registrar, how long does it take, yung procedure?
See, let's say there is a posting of 10 days, 2 weeks for publication, 5 days to decide. So, around, I'm not a good at math siguro.
But it's safe to say a month kaya.
month siguro.
Kasi yung mga cases, for instance, of yung in-interview natin si Karen K, she had to take the board exam. So kung ganun nagmamadali ka, or if you're traveling, for instance, or you're working abroad, kaya nila in a month to correct these entries. Ito yung administrative, right?
That's good nga kasi certainly that's a lot better than changing your license, changing your passport, changing all your IDs, diba?
But then, attorney, what if yung kailangan mong pumunta sa court? Ito yung mga instances na ang kailangan mo palitan last name, or yung entry is not clerical, or you want to change basically
your
status. Oo. Gaano katagal normally sa court?
I am not in a position
because pa-iba-iba. No? But definitely,
delays.
Definitely
years.
more than a month.
It's more than a month.
Okay.
It may take a year or years pa.
Yeah, but what's, I guess, important for our viewers to know is that they cannot just go through the administrative proceeding na mas mabilis. They really have to fall within those categories that we stated, na parang either you have a first name or nickname that is hard to pronounce, or you've been using it habitually and you've been known. So yung mga artista, for instance, they can change to their screen names. The first name, not last name.
Lalo if they built equity on it, they built equity on that name, they can change that. No?
Yeah, they are allowed. There's a law that allows them to do that.
Okay.
All right.
Alias.
Now, in terms of expenses and costs, how much? Kasi one of the concerns of Karen K was mahal yung proceedings. You don't need a lawyer, di ba, to go to the civil registry proceedings.
Yes, especially so now that when you go there is now a
Pro
forma that you will just
Ito
check
yung
na.
administrative.
Yes, regards administrative,
Oo.
yes.
So pag yung administrative, again, if it doesn't affect your status or clerical error lang, you can go straight to the civil registry. You don't have to hire a lawyer. And meron bang fees na kailangan bayaran?
Yes, if it involves change of name, you pay 3,000.
Okay.
If it's about clerical errors, it's 1,000.
Okay. And I seem to read a provision pala that says if you are indigent, meaning mahirap ka talaga, you can even be exempted from paying these fees, right?
That's good.
Okay.
That's great.
The law defines destitute therein as one who is certified to be as such by the DSWD.
Sa mga extreme cases, no, like for example, you feel that someone is stalking you, or maybe you feel that your life is threatened because of who you are, what your name is. Maybe you got involved in something in the past, and hinahunting ka, or maybe even the witness protection program. I don't know if there's cases like that you have to change your name. Medyo mahirap magtago dito sa Pilipinas. But mga ganun ba? Let's say it's a case of safety. You know, because my name, I've got involved in something in the past, and I feel that my life is threatened. Can you change your name based on that?
It is not included.
It's not. Okay, so judicial process yun.
You have to file
More
it in
likely,
court.
I don't know if the Department of Justice has parameters for that, because as regards witness protection program,
But even the
identity
court, I think
concealment.
it's not guaranteed that that kind
they might
of
even give
petition will
that.
be granted,
Yes.
no?
Yeah, even the courts. Yeah, all right.
Going back to the cost nga pala, as regards
the cost.
to change of name, one variable cost that is present therein is the publication as regards, because you'll have to publish that for 2 weeks in a newspaper of general publication.
Kahit
circulation.
administrative lang?
Yes, you'll have. As regards
okay.
change of name. Okay.
Now, when you say 2 weeks,
2 weeks.
consecutively.
Yes, yes.
So it
Alright,
depends
wow.
on the
Alright.
rates of the newspaper
Yes,
where you will
kaya
publish.
that
Okay.
might increase the cost
Alright.
of...
Now, our next question is from Marianne, and she asks, I'm separated from my husband for 5 years and have been wanting to change my last name back to my maiden name. Do I have to get an annulment in order to do this?
She has actually two questions. First, because a married woman can either choose to use her name or choose the name of her husband, or choose her maiden name. But in that instance, she is asking if she wants to go.
She can start using her
She can
maiden
start
name.
using her-
Oo.
yeah.
I guess, let's first tackle. When you get married, you don't even have to undergo the processes that
Sure.
we've been talking about,
Yes.
right? It's not technically considered as a change of
Of
name
name, yeah.
that requires you to file a court petition or even an administrative proceeding with the local civil registry. So, Attorney Henry, ano yung process if you get married to change to your married name?
There's
There's none.
There's none.
Actually,
You can
if
just
it's
check-
registered in the
NSO.
NSO through your marriage certificate, you just go to the process.
And then you can start using your
adding
married
your
surname.
married
So, in
surname.
this case, the question
Probably she's
is...
asking probably for purposes of consistency, maybe.
Oo. So she can just, even if without an annulment, she can just automatically switch back to using her married maiden surname.
Yes,
Yeah.
literally yes.
Kasi she
But
was born with that name. Her birth certificate is still that name. It hasn't changed, di ba?
probably for consistency, she was asking. It might be reflected in her driver's license,
That's right,
in her
okay.
SSS.
Okay.
Right.
So she can just do that.
can just revert back.
Ay,
Basically.
but she will have to make it consistent with the proper agencies, I believe.
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah.
All right.
So our next question is Marife, and she is asking us via Facebook. While in the process of collecting the requirements needed for a visa application to Australia, I only learned that the name in my birth certificate is different from my marriage certificate and other IDs. What can I do to resolve this, and how long will the process take? I guess in this case, si Marife is asking if parang meron na siyang name sa kanyang birth certificate na yun ata yung erroneous, no? Kasi meron, iba yung nasa marriage certificate and iba yung mga nasa IDs. Although it's weird na pumasok sa marriage certificate niya na iba yung sa birth certificate.
Kasi
Ngayon niya lang
required that.
napansin
It happens.
na nag-a-apply na siya for a visa.
And you kind of require to get married. You're required
you're
to submit
required to
a
give
birth
your birth
certificate.
Yes,
certificate, no?
maybe that can be considered actually a clerical error.
Oo.
When you say clerical error or typographical error, it's an error in the act of registration. In
Okay.
your
Yeah.
So
clerical
she can
duties.
do the
So she
process
can do the
that
process,
is
yes.
administrative, meaning, Marife, you can go to the local civil registrar that keeps your records and ask them to correct the clerical error. And as
In the
explained by
marriage
Attorney
certificate.
Henry, hindi niya kailangan ng lawyer.
No
Yes.
need, she'll just go there. There is a pro forma a paper that will be given to her, and then she'll just tell them that she's asking for the correction of the entry in her marriage certificate.
Now, how many times can I correct a typographical error? Is it?
You have to do once.
Is there a limit? Oh,
once.
Okay.
Once, because if there is now a particular correction, even if the local civil registrar commits another mistake, this contemplates the marriages. You can just submit that one, the entry, or the corrected version.
Yeah.
And then you can go on proceed using the corrected version.
Right.
Okay.
All right. The next question. May wants to know, my son was born to me while my marriage was still in the process of being annulled. Can I get the name of my ex-husband removed from the birth certificate and replace it with the biological father's name? I also want to change my son's last name to his real father's. Can I do both at the same time, or will they require different processes? Okay, the way I understand this, she was
Parang
being
meron
annulled, but
siyang-
she had a baby with
another
another
man,
with
oh,
another,
before
with a
her
biological,
annulment.
before the annulment
Yes,
was annulled.
oo.
Okay.
So, how do we go
Medyo
about this?
tricky question.
Oh,
It's
pang
like a Facebook
telenovela kasi
entry.
yung ano
It's
niya eh.
complicated.
Oo, pang telenovela yung situation niya yata.
Unfortunately for her, she cannot do that.
Okay.
Because under our laws, diba, children born under a valid marriage are considered legitimate.
Oo.
So if
Even
she
if
does,
the
in the
husband
process,
is not the real father.
yes, and then the sad thing is, apparently, she has used the name of the husband
Of the husband. Yeah.
in the family name. So she cannot do that, especially so because it will affect
The
the
status.
status of the child.
And they can't even file a court petition to change the name, the surname of the child, of the son.
Or change the father. I think what you wanted was to change the father.
The
Kasi
father, the entry
as
the
bio-
father.
The entry of the father.
Yeah, so dalawa.
So, ano yung
she
ano
wants
niya
to
doon?
change
If
the
she wants
father
that-
and the surname of
If
the
she
son.
wants that, then there's the remedy of adoption that's available.
Ah,
but she cannot go
adoption.
through this
Okay.
process.
Okay,
She cannot
hindi
go
lang
through
kasi
this
basta change of
process.
name na, no?
Ah,
So,
oh.
I guess for our viewer here who's asking this question, as recommended by Attorney Henry Araneta, have your current partner, the real father of your son, adopt your son.
Oo, you cannot do it via clerical
This
change.
is an instance where a biological father is now adopting. So
Kasi you have to, then you'll have to go to the civil registrar and have a DNA test or something. But even that's not allowed.
Yes.
Di ba? Yeah. And even in judicial process, hindi rin allowed yun.
Yung
words,
if she
yeah.
wants to change, yes,
You can-
because
you cannot-
she cannot do that.
Cannot do that. All right, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for tonight. We would like to thank our guest, Attorney Araneta, for being with us tonight. I'm Attorney Rod Nepomuceno.
And I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno. Join us again next Monday as we discuss your legal rights on the issue of medical malpractice. Good night.